What was I like as an apprentice? Dustin, longtime fan here, just wondering, when you were an apprentice, what was that like for you? Did you go through traditional indentured apprenticeship, union, or ABC? I'm in southern Wisconsin. I remember hearing that you were in Wisconsin for a long while and now Texas. All right, so let's talk about me as an apprentice. I think I was a little bit extra. Well, first and foremost, like what my apprenticeship was pretty much just meeting somebody. I was doing a side job with my dad, not even a side job. I was working at Dell at a corporate job. I had too expressive a mouth with too many words that were not corporate approved words, and I didn't work well in the corporate environment. I was bomb at doing sales, like answering phones, taking orders for credit cards, like for buying computers and selling stuff to like entire school districts. I was good at the sales thing. I just wasn't good at the whole like dealing with ambiguity, like using political correctness thing. I just spoke my mind too much. So I needed to be in something that was more, that was okay, So I started doing work with my dad, and he was doing like, tile jobs and like putting windows and doors in houses and just handyman kind of stuff. And there was this electrician's house that we went over to, and it was a friend of my dad's, and we were doing some tile stuff in his kitchen. And he walked in, and my dad kind of like looked at me, and he looked at the guy, and he's like, "Hey, y'all hiring electricians?" He's like, "Yeah, I think we are actually." And he looked at me and he's like, "You should go be an electrician." And I'm like,
"Dude, I don't know shit about being an electrician."
Like I'd hooked up some light fixtures before just working with him, and I'd like kind of like run wires through walls a couple of times for stuff, but I didn't know anything about it. So I was like,
all right, I mean, I know how to use drills. Like I know how to do a lot of tool stuff, so let's do it.
So I went and interviewed, and the guy gave me a job, and I asked for a certain wage based off what my dad said I should probably get, and I got it. And so I was like, all right, dude, I got a single dad. I don't have anybody helping me pay my bills. I got an apartment I'm trying to pay for. I got child support I got to pay for. I'm behind on stuff. My car, I don't even have registration on it. My inspection's out. My driver's license probably suspended. Like I was broke, dude. And I almost getting evicted out of my apartment constantly. And I couldn't make it, I was like waiting tables and just trying to do whatever the hell I could. I was going on Craigslist and putting tile ads together, and I would go and like do little tile jobs and stuff with a hacked together set of tools. Like, dude, I was struggling, broke. And I was like that for a long time. And I would have like 2-3 jobs, but when you're paying child support, like it doesn't matter. You can have 2-3 jobs and you're still gonna be broke. So I was like, yeah, like I'll try a thing. It's a new thing. I don't know anything about it, but like, who knows? Maybe I'll like it. And day one, I got thrown on this job. I remember driving with a journeyman and kind of like having the weird, uncomfortable talk. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm just trying to know who you are and you know who I am and know that I'm not just a piece of shit. And so we were going through this neighborhood, and I noticed all the houses that we were going by were like multi-million-dollar houses. And I was like, dude, where the hell are we going? And he just kind of smiled. He's like, wait and see. And so we're just going, and as we're like going through the neighborhood, the houses are getting bigger and fancier. And like, I just never been in neighborhoods like this in general. And we pulled up to this job, and I was just like, holy shit, dude. It was like this immaculate house. It was right next to the governor of Texas. Like, they're the neighbors. And everything was like real, lockdown, gated community, everything. Got to have keys to get into stuff. And like, we got into this house, and I was like, this is fucking cool. I've never even been in a house like this. I don't even know what this is all about. And so I walked in this house, and I saw like all these rooms. They don't call it a living room. They call these rooms great rooms because they have like 20-foot ceilings, and they're these like megalithic rooms. It's essentially just a living room, but it's like a Keeping Up with the Joneses, Impress Your Friends kind of a living room. And this one was like down like right on the water. We could see out the backside, like see the lake. It was like 7:30 in the morning, calm. I'm into wakeboarding, so like I noticed the serene calmness to the water, and I'm like, dude, I want to go. It's glass right now. I want to go wakeboarding so bad. And just at the age I was at, I think I was 21, 22, something like that. I was young. There was something about the environment, the smell of all of the fresh wood, the like bigness of the house and how like neat everything was done and the wiring, and like seeing all of the wires in walls and being like, whoa, what do we do? What do electricians even do? Like, I know we run wires to stuff, but like everything just looked cool and new to me. And I'd never had a thing where I was getting paid to go do something I'd never done before and I don't know anything about, but I was paid to learn. And I was working with somebody that was cool, and it was just like, all right, man, take this thing, run this over here. You're going to do this about 300 times by the end of the day. So just, do it this way. And then of course he would tell me to do something. I would do it a different way because I just didn't really understand, but I wanted so badly to just do it that I was like, yeah, I got it. Like, I heard what you said. And then I would do it and then screw it up, and he'd get pissed off because he's like, that's not what I said. That's not how I said it. Listen to what I'm saying. Stop saying, yeah. If you don't get it, don't say, yeah. Just shut up, shut your mouth, and do it this way. And make sure you do it the same way every single time. Watch me again. This is how I did it. Now do that. So like I just always wanted to like hurry and do things like fast, and I wanted whatever you told me to get done. I was like, I want to do all of it in 30 seconds, And so he was much more of like a chill, cool person, and I was much more like, boom, gotta get shit done, gotta impress everybody. Just this dumb young kid that like had issues that needed to impress older men because I didn't have a relationship with a dad. So that was me as an apprentice pretty much. And after a while, I got like more chilled into it. I messed some things up. I did really good work. So that was the thing. Like I spent a lot of time caring about what I was doing, and I was working in these big, huge houses and seeing all these crazy cars and stuff. And then I would see bathrooms that were monster bathrooms where it was like kind of an open shower instead of having walls around a shower and a tub like poor folk like I live in my house right now. It was just like you'd walk into this room and you just happen to be in a shower, and you're like, holy fuck, you could fit like an entire basketball team in here, and there's no walls, there's no doors. It was like rainfall, things shooting at you from every direction, steamers, multiple vanity sinks, like huge mirrors, separate like jacuzzi tubs and stuff. And I was just like, what is this? And then you'd have kitchens where there were monster kitchens. Like some of these kitchens are the size of my entire house, man, like a 1,200 square foot kitchen. And they have like butler's pantries and a butler's side kitchen and a prep kitchen. And then you'd look outside and they have like pools with like, an infinity edge. So it's like a waterfall and it just goes out to the lake, and it makes it seem psychologically like you're in the lake. And I don't know, man, there was just so much cool stuff about all of this. Everything that I had never seen before. So I immediately fell in love with it. After day one, I was like hooked, man. So I decided, okay, I think this is my thing. And I just had some ramshackle tools, and I realized like I need to get some good tools. So I very quickly like dumped whatever money I had, kind of got some better tools, and I would constantly just put away like $20 from every paycheck into a shoebox. And then it would be my tool fund, and I would start to get some tools put together over time. And then we started to do different work. We started to do some commercial work as well. So the company that I was working for, we had probably like 5 or 6 company trucks, 5 or 6 like crews essentially. So there were that many journeymen, and then probably more than that in helpers. Like there was at least a helper per person, but there was a few extra helpers too, because they could kind of move things around. But we also at the same time were doing commercial work. So we did some like medium-sized commercial work. So no huge like Walmarts or Targets or, big, huge box stores or anything like that. But you're talking like a lot of restaurants, like multi-level, multi-story office complexes, things with like 480 volts, 277. I had no clue what any of this stuff was. A lot of parking lot lights, restaurants that had like drive-through windows where you had to construct a whole drive-through thing, and dentist offices. So we got to do a lot of stuff with like medical grade MC, which is the green stuff. Any of you guys that don't know what that is, dental offices, I don't know, just all kinds of stuff. So I got to see like a whole bunch of varying environments in how electrical worked. And dude, it was like every job that I did and every day that I went in, I fell in love with it more and more and more and more. And there were a bunch of other apprentices, and there were people that kind of were there before me. There were people there that were a little bit after me. There were people that were about to get their licenses, people that had licenses. There was a couple masters, some journeymen. Like I got to see the whole spectrum of like where everybody was in this path, and realized there's an entire lifelong thing I can do with this. Like, I could make this a career instead of having these dumb jobs where I'm out flipping burgers all the time. And so the aesthetic of it, to be able to see like all of the wiring and putting in boxes and stuff that I'm doing, and then months later going to a trim out and seeing all these fancy like $20,000 chandeliers hanging in a front entryway that we had to use scaffold to build, and getting to see like the finished product of what all of this is. We were doing home automation systems. So we had like Crestron, Lutron homework systems. We were programming the house with keypads. And I was just like, dude, this is narballs. I'm so into this. We had home theaters that we would set up. So like theater chairs, big screens, everything, things folded down, lighting came up and dimmed and did all this stuff. And I was just like, dude, I want to do all of this for the rest of my life. This is so fucking cool. So I fell in love with it. And that was pretty much me as an apprentice. I have lots of stories out there of things that I've messed up. Like, I've shocked myself really badly. I was not brought up in a company that like really preached safety. It was just like, hey, get here, go out, do this. And it's not that the company wasn't a safe company. It was just that it was kind of like a good old boy shop, you know, like it was just like, get to work. Here's where you're going, go out and do your thing. And that was it, you know, every day. We had a meeting every once in a while, and it was just kind of like, this is where we're at. These are the jobs that are coming in. This is kind of like what we need to do. We need to clean up better because we have builders that are complaining that you guys are leaving messes or whatever. There was this joking around about like people would shock themselves. You know, they'd be working on something, or it was funny to like walk up on someone and scare them when they were working on like a plug live, and it just, you know, scared the living crap out of them. And so I don't know. It was like a fun, crazy kind of thing. And I got shocked a lot. You know, like I would cut through something and not realize it was hot, and I'd blow up a pair of my lineman's pliers, and I'm like, all right, well, that's $45 just down the shitter. I got to go buy another one. So I kind of just had to like figure out a lot of things, because the people around me that were teaching me just had to figure out things too, and the people before them just had to figure out things, and that was the way that it was. And so when I got a start, I learned how to do new construction very, very well, how to do things really clean, really neat, see the whole process. I got to see commercial, I got to see residential. But I didn't have any like big troubleshooting experience. So after a few years, like the 08, 09 thing happened, and everybody just tanked. And so I had to make a decision. I'm like, well, I can go wait tables. You know, I was still an apprentice, but I was at that point where I probably could have started to get my residential wireman's license after 2 years. But I was like, I have a kid. I have to figure out a way to make money. I can't afford a pay cut, because a pay cut was what the company was doing, because they couldn't afford to survive. So I was like, I'm just gonna go wait tables. And I waited tables for a little while, came back into doing it, got a job offer at a commercial and industrial service company. And when I got there, I was like, whoa, this is way different. This is nothing but problems all the time, constantly issues that need to be solved. You have to know so much more. This isn't just pulling wire in walls all day, every day, and hooking up plugs and switches. This is solving complex issues. You got motors not working. You got to know a little bit about ladder logic because of how this environment was wired, and commercial lighting control systems, and trying to troubleshoot signs and wire like some lights blinking, and why, you know, like there was just a lot to it, and I had to like bury my head in the code book all day, every day. So that company is where I got my journeyman's license. So that took me up to that point. But essentially that was me as an apprentice. I was a go-getter. I was a hustler. I probably worked too much, too fast, too hard, and didn't really like chill out and go slow. I think that's the one thing I would probably tell myself if I could look back at my apprenticeship and be like, what's the thing you should tell yourself as an apprentice? It's like, slow down, play the long game. That doesn't mean work slowly. There's definitely two sides of this trade. There's people that are like super meticulous and slow as balls and probably don't profit much because of how much time it takes them to do everything, but they do clean work. And then there's people that are ramshackle, slam everything together, work hard, fast. They probably make a lot of money, but they probably lose a lot of money for the company because they're constantly having to go back and do service calls to fix the stuff that doesn't work, and most of it's done wrong, and they have to go out again because they failed an inspection because they didn't do it right. There's definitely two spectrums, and I think finding that middle ground is where I've always tried to shoot, because I feel like that's where you maximize profitability and efficiency. You have speed and profitability. And if you can be really fast and know when to shift gears to do something really quickly because the needs of the job or the needs of the budget for the job for the company need you to work a little bit faster and increase your speed, or if you're in a job where you need to slow down and everything needs to be meticulous, you can shift gears and figure out where that is, and being adjustable. But I've always kind of been that way. I think that's what makes me, that's what I'm proud of as an electrician, is that I know how to shift gears and I know a lot about a lot of things, and I can kind of be thrown into anything and either know what I'm doing or know how to figure it out without needing the oversight from somebody else. And I think that's just a good place to try to strive for. Me as an apprentice, I always wanted to do everything. I wanted to be the person that ripped out the panel. I wanted to be the person that put the breakers in. I wanted to be the person that fished stuff down a wall. I wanted to be the person that got up in the attic and had to run stuff across. I wanted to be the person under the house to say that I went under a house and I knew what to do under a house and how to drill in and figure out where a wall was. Like, I was just eager all the time to do everything. And I asked a lot of questions. I asked questions about, like, what does a neutral do, to people that were journeymen that had no clue what a neutral was, and they would get irritated because I was asking questions that was beyond their understanding, and they would get pissed off and be like, shut your mouth and just work. Like, just do your work. Stop asking so many fucking questions. I think it got irritated because I would be like, all right, I'd break a radio apart and be like, all right, so like, what is this little thing here? Is like, that's a capacitor. What does it do? And people were like, I don't know. So I knew I was so eager and I was constantly looking for things, and there really wasn't anything. There was no YouTube channels about electrical stuff, and there was barely any books. Like, you had to buy old engineering manuals to try to figure stuff out, and it's got all these calculus formulas, and I'm like, oh, Jesus. I just want somebody to explain to me, like, what is three-phase? What does it do? What does it mean? Are there three hots and you're trying to measure with a multimeter between three things? I just didn't know. I was an apprentice. None of this stuff made sense. So that's why I started Electrician U. But anyways, as an apprentice, I was a super go-getter. I volunteered for every bit of after hours, Saturday, overtime, whatever. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to go to all the jobs, and that was me. And so I was always cracking open books. I was reading codes. I didn't even know what the hell codes were, but I was trying anyways. That's always me. That's my personality type. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be that way. But that gained me a lot in my career because I was so passionate about this stuff. I'm not about this. I'm not that same way with things that I don't care about, right? But the things that I'm into 100,050%. I put every bit of my attention and my gusto and my ambition and my understanding and my seeking. I put all of myself and more into whatever I'm passionate about. And so this was my new thing. Electricity was my thing. It was just mysterious enough that it was like invisible, and I didn't know what it did. And people were talking about atoms and electrons moving, and I was like, what are you even talking about? Like, electricity is like a bolt thing. And they're like, no, it's like this invisible field thing. And I'm like, what? So it gave me something to seek and to something to learn and something to try to master. And it was dangerous. So I had to be really careful around it. And I just knew that there was an entire ocean of things for me to find out about it. And that's why I started it, because it was just scientific and crazy enough to keep my interest. It was just hard enough, like knuckle breaking, hard sweat, blood and tears, pouring myself into something. And at the end of the day, being able to step back and be like, dude, I did that. Like, that looks cool. That TV on that wall, that huge, 105-inch TV, when you push a button, like the lights dim down, and like, I did that. Oh, I was so excited. That's what I loved about it. So that was me as an apprentice. That's what got me falling in love with all of this crazy stuff. And I'm still that way. I still love doing this stuff. Now that I'm on this side of it, I think I like teaching far more. I like leading a team. I like being out in the field and actually being the one that has the plan. And it's like, all right, I'm going to delegate to you because I know your skill level and you need to do this, this, and this, and you need to work on this and understand this. So I'm going to give this to you. I need somebody that's really good and that's not going to screw up. I have an important project. I'm going to give this to you. All right. And then I've got these things over here. So I need you to go over here and over here, and kind of driving a project and leading multiple teams of people to achieve something. That's what I get out of it now, because now I have the knowledge of the how of everything and how to find problems to stuff. So I like leading teams and I like teaching and training people. But, I had to learn to be a follower first, and I had to learn all of the stuff, and I had to go through many years of going through the machine of all of this before I could get to that point. So a lot of you might have like super ambition, be like, all right, day one, I'm an apprentice. I want to be a master electrician next year. It's like, no. That's what I mean when I say, like, if I could have talked to myself as a younger person, I would have been like, dude, this is a long game. So before you get in a hurry and think that you need to be the master of a craft in a year, understand it's going to take you 10 years before you even understand what the hell electricity is. So chill out. You're not going to impress anybody. You're not going to learn as fast as you think you are. You're not going to be ready for a decade for you to have the wealth of information that you need to have to be able to be where you want to be in your career and be this thing. But it's a good thing to go after. Just play the long game, take your time, work fast, but over a long period of time, be slow, So anyways, hope you guys got something out of that. Sorry, that was more of like a rant than like teaching you anything. But I have people that ask me about myself as an apprentice a lot. So I figured I'd share with you. Love you, crazy people. I'll see you in the next one.